Thank you all for that break. We're at our last agency for today, the great men and women that serve in our Prince George's Police Department. And at this time, I'll turn to our committee director, Mr. Sandra Eubanks, to start our presentation.
Thank you. As you say, we have the police chief here today with his team. They have a PowerPoint presentation that was forwarded to everyone. And we have Ms. Anya today in the capacity as the legislative budget and policy analyst to present the report. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Council, and everybody who is present here today. Just for the record, my name is Anya Makarova. I'm a Senior Advisor to the Board of Health, fulfilling duties of Senior Budget and Policy Analysis, as I will present to you the budget review for Police Department. In fiscal year 2024, the department is expected to exceed its authorized budget of $401 million by approximately $7.5 million, which will require a supplemental budget request. In fiscal year 2025, budget for police department is proposed at $410.2 million, which is a $9 million increase above 2024 approved budget level. At the same time, the proposed budget represents $1.6 million increase above the current level of expenditures. Multi-year overview of the department's budget is presented on page 2 of your report. Right here. And overall, since fiscal year 2015, the department's budget has increased by approximately 37%. Approximately 97% of the department's 25 proposed budget of $410 million would be funded through general funds. The remaining funding sources are grant funds as well as Drug Enforcement Special Revenue Fund. And now we'll take a closer look at every single one of those sources, starting with general fund. General fund is proposed to increase by $7.6 million or 2%. I apologize. I need to get this presentation straight. Can I get some help? I need to be on page number 2. I can't. It is proposed to increase by $7.6 million or 2% above 24 approved budget. At the same time, the proposed budget for general fund will actually remain flat when taking into account fiscal year 2024 estimated level of expenditures. Proposed increases are expected in compensation, and they will be offset partially by reductions in fringe benefits as well as operating expenditures. Once again, when looking at the general fund, compensation budget is proposed to increase by $13 million, which will allow for fiscal year 2024 annualization of salary adjustments and funding for 2 crime scene investigators and funding for 2 recruit classes. And the proposed compensation budget increase already includes over $10 million in anticipated attrition and salary lapse. However, it should be noted that the proposed compensation budget represents 0.6% increase from 2024 estimated level of expenditures. And in 2024, the department actually is projected to increase its compensation budget by nearly $12 million and will not have any salary lapse, even though it has about 19% vacancy rate for the department. So at this point, it is not clear whether 0.6% increase in compensation budget above the current level of spending will be sufficient to pay for 2 recruit classes, new positions, annualization of salary adjustments. Fringe expenditures for the police department are proposed to decrease by $2.4 million below the approved level or $4 million below the estimated level of spending, while operating budget is proposed to decrease by $3 million from 2024 approved budget or increase by $3 million over the current level of expenditures. Now let's jump to the second funding source for the department, which is the Drug Enforcement and Education Special Revenue Fund, which is expected to fund nearly 1% of the department's overall 2025 proposed budget. In 2025, the fund is expected to have a beginning funding balance of $7.9 million, and the department plans to spend $3.5 million in 2025. This particular fiscal year, the department said that it's on track to expend all $950,000 in Drug Enforcement Education Special Fund that it has planned to spend. And you can see from page 6, on page 6 of the report, all the multi-year the department's multi-year efforts to expend funds from this particular fund. The third funding source for the department is grant funds, which is anticipated to fund nearly 2.2% of the department's overall 2025 proposed budget. In fiscal year 24, the department is expected to fully realize its grant fund budget of $10 million, even though some grant funds did not materialize, but at the same time, the department was able to receive some unanticipated grant awards, which will require a supplemental budget request in order to be appropriated. In 25, proposed grant fund budget will be $9.2 million, or 10% under the current year's level. Now let's look at the overtime portion of the department's budget. In fiscal year 2025, the overtime budget is proposed at $26.5 million, which represents a $4 million increase above 2024. In 2024, overtime expenses are projected at nearly $25 million, or 10.6% higher than the department's approved overtime budget. With regards to overtime management, implementation of roll call system has enabled additional overtime oversight, as well as switching patrol officers from 10-hour shift to 12-hour shift is also anticipated to decrease some structural overtime. Nevertheless, in fiscal year 2025, the department's proposed overtime budget is projected to increase by $4 million. Now let's move to the staffing overview section of the report, which begins on page number 9. In fiscal year 2025, the department staffing level is proposed to increase by 2 full-time civilian positions, which will result in authorized staffing level of 329 full-time civilians, 1,786 full-time sworn people, 152 part-time positions, which are mostly crossing guards, as well as 3 limited-term grant-funded positions. When it comes to the actual staffing level, as of March of this year, department's sworn personnel had 21.5% sworn vacancy rate. 16.5% vacancy rate was recorded for civilian full-time positions, and 55% vacancy rate was recorded for part-time civilians, which once again are mostly crossing guards. It should also be noted that this particular fiscal year, the department made significant improvements in reducing the number of civilian vacancies, which actually will be subject to the hiring freeze in fiscal year 2025. Crossing guards, however, will be exempt from the hiring freeze policy in 2025, and it should be noted that with 55% vacancy rate for crossing guards, in addition to safety concerns, to the extent that vacant crossing guard positions require backfilling by sworn officers, possibly on overtime, it is not a cost-effective approach to filling these particular positions. Also, when it comes to the sworn actual staffing level, as can be seen from the graph presented on page 12 of the report, it continues to shrink, and it is currently at 1,403, which is the lowest point that has been seen over the past dozen of years. A total of 3 recruit classes are expected to graduate recruits in fiscal year 2025, with approximately in anticipation of graduating 96 recruits. However, if the last class number 153 gets delayed, then only 51 instead of 96 recruits will be able to join the department in fiscal year 2025. And also, as shown on page 14 of the report, you will see that the department's ability to fill its recruit classes to the desired capacity this fiscal year also fell short of expectations. While the department was aiming to add 100 recruits this year, it was able to realize and add only 48 officers. Graduating 48 officers in fiscal year 2024 is not sufficient to keep up with the department's sworn attrition level. Most of the department's employee separations are driven by retirements, following by resignations. Department's recruitment efforts in fiscal year 2025 will include focus on recruitment from within the county through its homegrown campaign, which focuses largely on the use of social media platforms. Also, department will work with police executive research forum to establish pipelines with historically Black colleges and universities in our area. And lastly, the department will continue recruitment through United States military installations across the country. To support department's recruitment efforts, the department will continue to offer hiring bonuses and also has a recruitment budget of $265,000. Overall, department reports that it takes approximately 30 applications to produce one quality recruit. Additional information on the competitiveness of the department's sworn entry-level salaries is provided on page 16 of the presentation. Workers' compensation information is provided on pages 17 through 18 of the report. Overall, department's employees represent 32% of all workers' compensation claims with a price tag of $12 million a year. And obviously, and we are self-insured for workers' compensation. Now let's move to the workload section of this report. As can be seen from information from data presented on page 18 of the report, in calendar year 2023, the department responded to over 500,000 calls for service, which is a 5% decrease from calendar year 2022. Also in calendar year 2023, response time averages have increased for all call types, and crime has increased in 7 out of 8 categories, with most drastic increases being seen in stolen vehicles, robberies, and carjacking categories. Overall, in calendar year 2023, when compared to 22, violent crime has increased by 18%, while property crime has increased by 44%. Closure rates in 2023, as can be seen on information presented on page 20 of the report, have improved in 6 out of 7 categories. Taking a look at the Forensic Services Division, and that information is provided on pages 20 and 21 of the report, it should be noted that all laboratories continue to operate with backlogs, and the division continues to deal with persistent staffing issues. Also, the Bureau of Forensic Services Division is expected to move to the new forensics laboratory facility in fiscal year 2025, and it is imperative to ensure a smooth transition so the downtime for the laboratory is, for all laboratories is as minimum as possible. Among other highlights with regards to the department's workload, it should be noted that implementation of two-phase automated license plate reader program has faced delays due to pending approval from the Maryland State Highway Administration. Department also undertook several organizational changes, including creating gun crimes and missing persons unit, as well as reorganizing Bureau of Investigations to ensure greater continuity across investigative components and commands. Department also continues to administer its school resource officer program, which assigns 28 officers to 19 high schools, as well as 35 middle schools on a rotating basis. With regards to traffic enforcement, that information is available on page 23 of the report. And I also wanted to note that when it comes to victim services, in fiscal year 23, the department was approved and plans to hire a victim witness coordinator, which is a new position for the department. It is currently pending announcement. It should be noted that domestic violence unit continues its operations with 11 employees. And on page 24 of the report, you will find data on the use of firearms to commit crimes and a brief description of the department efforts to address crimes that involve guns and other firearms. On page 24 of the report, you'll find the department's top priorities for fiscal year 2025, which include recruitment and retention of sworn and civilian employees, including crossing guards, reduction in violent crime, increased community engagement, launch of the Real-Time Crime Center, as well as overseeing the completion of the patrol shift change from 10-hour shift to 12-hour shift. And I also want to briefly mention the most critical issues that the department has identified that it currently faces or will face over the next 5 years. And those include civilianization, especially as the department's sworn staffing level continues to decrease. It becomes even more critical to make sure that civilian positions are filled. And also that some positions that could be done by qualified civilian personnel are done by qualified civilian personnel instead of having sworn officers being assigned to those positions. Addressing a multitude of staffing issues remains priority for the department, as well as fleet replenishment. Department also highlighted the need for radio encryption as it looks to refresh its radio system. Department is also interested in body-worn camera upgrades and ensuring sufficient storage for both server and cloud solutions. And addressing CIP needs also remains department top priority. It also should be noted that in fiscal year 2025, the department will continue to clear accreditation process and plans to hire an accreditation manager and other staff to assist with accreditation and prepare to conduct their mock assessment. Now, moving to the equipment and information technology portion of this presentation, I would like to note that currently the department's fleet has 35%, which already meet the replacement criteria. And by the end of this fiscal year, that percentage is projected to increase to 42%. The department has noted that increased fleet costs, technology upgrade requirements, and long production delays do require adjustments to the fleet upgrade strategies to ensure reliability of its fleet. Currently, the department noted, and I quote, that we are not able to make orders of a sufficient size to keep pace with the rate at which vehicles are hitting the replacement threshold. And with regards to the body-worn cameras, it also should be noted that currently body-worn cameras are primarily assigned to forward-facing personnel, meaning primarily patrol officers. However, there is a pending legislation which would require all police officers, regardless of their rank or assignment, to wear body-worn cameras. If adopted, this legislation will have a significant fiscal impact. It also should be noted that the department has expressed their interest to switch to a different body-worn camera vendor, and this is something that they are working with Office of Homeland Security to discuss and address. And also, while storage costs for body-worn camera do fall under the purview of the Office of Homeland Security, the department did report that this was an issue that storage costs are an issue for operating its body-worn camera. And finally, the department's main information technology priority is launch of its real-time crime center, which is a 24-hour crime intelligence hub focusing on identifying and analyzing geographical trends and other pertinent information for major violent crimes. And it is not clear at this point whether the department has all the necessary resources that is needed to proceed with launching the real-time crime center in the remainder of this fiscal year or in fiscal year 2025. And this concludes an overview of police department's proposed budget. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for that thorough analysis, Ms. Markova. I appreciate that. And this time I will turn to our Chief of Police. Chief, is he? Yeah, you're ready. It's game time. It's game time. Okay. I see Hale wear his commander's lanyard to help you out today. Okay. Please put your mic on.
I thought it was on. Let me start on this end right here, have my staff introduce themselves. See, I see that Councilman Hawkins has already hit me over here. This is harassment already.
For your staff, if you could please press the button and make sure you're speaking to the mic for those viewing online.
Good morning. My name is Kristen Leese. I'm the Executive Manager of the Bureau of Forensics.
Good morning, Major Shauna Waddy, Acting Deputy Chief, Bureau of Investigation.
Good morning, everyone. Deputy Chief Katina Gomez, Bureau of Homeland Security.
Good morning, Todd Whitener, Deputy Chief, Bureau of Administration.
Vernon Hale, Assistant Chief.
Good morning, Lakeisha Giles.
Good morning, everyone. Deputy Chief James McCrary of Prince George's County Police Department, Bureau of Patrol.
Yeah. All right. Chief Malik Aziz, Chief of Police. We're going to go ahead and get into this presentation because I heard the committee chair say the police was going to be long. So got you. Go ahead and, we got user error over here with Assistant Chief Hale is running this. So we'll just wait till he get on with it, Oh, Oh, I'm sorry. I have behind me is Dr. Daria Bailey, who's over our Community First division. She is the community guru, which I'm sure some question on community will come up. Thank you. Sorry about that, sir. All right. Okay, just to highlight our mission and value statement, as you can see, professionalism, integrity, responsiveness, sensitivity, respect, and openness. I think we are striving to get to those aspirations, high aspirations for the Prince George's County Police Department and be a very august representative of the Prince George's County and the police department. Go next. Some of our challenges and agency accomplishments, which we will discuss. Our challenges will be staffing. They have been staffing over the past uh, 12 or 13 years. Law enforcement has met a very formidable challenger in hiring in a national staffing crisis. Prince George's County Police, we have not been immune to the crisis that's going on in the United States for hiring police. The all across the nation. Our recruitment, we are focused on recruitment, but that goes right into staffing, from how we actually maintain our workforce and retention, how we recruit sworn and non-sworn people to help us accomplish our mission. So those are real challenges that have presented us a problem and will continue to present us a problem, but we're optimistic that we're going to face it head on. Our agency accomplishments, some of them are listed among a long list of things that we've done in the past few years. The DOORS program, which is the Desk Officer Reporting System, which will allow us to have people do reports online. It saves an officer valuable time going out to different locations when our great citizens can actually accomplish this with online reporting. So we finally kind of turned the corner into 21st century policing, which that shop is the earlier shop I mentioned about staff and recruiting, retention. All of that falls on Deputy Chief Leitner's shoulders, and the DOORS program falls up under also the Real Time Crime Center, and it falls under Deputy Chief Gomez and the direction that we're going. Our federal partners, we've had a really robust relationship with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the State Attorney's Office in partnership, and all of our federal agencies from the Baltimore field office and the Washington field office, since we sit in such a very, dynamic position inside this region in the DMV. The partnership with the ATF is a very meaningful partnership. We formed the Gun Crime Intelligence Center, which we believe is going to allow us to do bigger and better things, from solving cases to putting real criminals behind bars. The new units we formed this year, which are major for us, is a gun crimes unit, which we centralized our shooting teams. Before then, we had 8 different divisions focused on shootings, non-contact shootings, contact shootings, or vandalism, or just shooting a gun. So now it is in one place, and that one place we know that it's already yielded results. We hope it continues to go in that direction. And the missing persons unit, which we formed, which was also decentralized at one point, and now we have a central point for all missing persons that happen in Prince George's County, as well as how they cross the region. We believe that's a benefit that is following under the acting deputy chief, Major Wadi, down here on my right. The top priorities for this fiscal year is reduction of violent crime and property crime. That goes without saying. I heard those numbers before then, and I was looking at the numbers just updated today, and they change quite frequently. But today, nonviolent crime, is down 18%. Our violent crime is up 11%. That's 140 offenses driven by assaults. That's simple assaults. Somebody, pushing or fighting or things like that, or domestic violence, simple assaults, whether it's family or non-family. But total crime is down 13%, and that's always a plus for us. I'll talk about that more later. Our increase in sworn officers to fill critical civilian vacancies and school crossing guard positions. We are opening up the real-time crime centers sometime in the next few months. We're hoping to get started on that building process that falls under Deputy Chief Gomez. That realization into a real-time crime center is long overdue, but we know it will have a giant payoff. Our community engagement increases across all communities in Prince George's County, and focused on certain segments of our community. Officer Health and Wellness for 21st Century Policing, Pillar 6, is to provide that health and wellness, and we haven't always done a great job at providing those things. And the training and education for first line supervisors. Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, with DC? Yeah, DC opened up a real-time crime center just a month ago. I think they had about 6 months in the making. Spent a lot of money. We will offer one person at a very minimum to help them staff their center. They have agreed when we get ours going, they will return that favor to us, that they will lend us one or bodies or however many we give them. It will be mutual. But the real-time crime center that they're opening will also benefit DC and the region, especially Prince George's County, Montgomery County, and Fairfax. So the partnerships are blossoming.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Real-time crime centers, I don't know what that is.
Oh, you don't know what it is?
Yeah,
I don't think
Go
so.
ahead.
You know what I told them? I don't
I'm
want
a-
to steal
I'm a nerd,
anybody's
so I
thunder
know.
here, so I got Deputy Chief Gomez ready to spring out. She was hoping somebody asked that question. She was hoping.
That's okay.
Let me tell you,
It's okay.
hey, Councilman Olson, she was hoping somebody asked that
Chief,
question.
why are you always causing trouble in the city? Anyway,
They can't reach you.
Madam Chief Gomez, if you could briefly describe what a real-time crime center is
I will.
for those that don't know.
So the real-time crime center, what it is a centralized location in which we can monitor active and real-time different events or threats or investigations throughout the county. And then when we were talking about DC, it allows us to be able to communicate, like I said, in real time. So we have cameras. We also have a program called Fuses. And what that allows us to do is that we're able to tap into cameras that we've gotten permission from business owners. We're connected with the National Harbor right now, and we have that intel, and we can actually view the cameras from our locations, our cell phones or whatever, we need to be able to access, and we can view that information and watch it in real time. We was able to actually recently get a robbery suspect in real time to be able to pinpoint where he is, what location, did he make a left and a right, and we were able to, I think it was a dog, we were able to recover the woman's dog because the guy hit her with a brick. So essentially that's what a real-time crime center is. It allows us to capture real-time information while everyone is out in the street moving around.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Chief Gomez and Vice Chair Hawkins.
I just want to add, Councilmember Olson, everything Deputy Chief Gomez said, this on the news this past weekend.
Yeah, on Mayor Bowser.
They shared about how the real time, it was a robbery, 4 individuals, I think, robbed a grocery store or convenience store in New Jersey. And as a result of the real time center activation, law enforcement was able within minutes to find where the car was, where the suspects were, and make some arrests.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Councilmember Olson. You can also check out Mayor Bowser's Instagram, and her real-time crime center is like right there. So if you want to, as a millennial, that's where I'm always on the gram. Go and back to Chief.
On the ground. Okay. Yeah. I guess the end result, and thank you, Councilman Olson. I knew somebody was going to ask that question. She was waiting. I'm glad you did. So we'll move back into talking about a few of the crime numbers as, this is what they stood at last week, not what I just gave out this morning. But we are up in homicides. We're fighting a battle. We're not benefiting from the cyclical downtrend that is some of the major cities, which we call the top 78 cities in the United States for major cities chiefs. About half are reporting a downward trend in homicides. Up until about a month ago, we were reporting that downward trend too. But since then, Most of these homicides that you see in the 29 are driven by domestic violence homicides. And we have 10 of those. 10 of the 29 that you're looking at were domestic violence related. And so that's always alarming that's something the police are not inside of a house, so there are so many other variables that affect that. The sex offenses are down, which is always a good thing. Robberies are down. A great testament to the great work that Deputy Chief McCreary is doing down here on my left with his fine men and women who are out here working every day and solving crimes and dealing with the street part of robberies. The assaults is what is driving the greater majority of our crimes. As you can see, assaults and domestic violence, they take a large part and they fall into the violent crime category. But a lot of them are very simple assaults. Again, there's fights, pushes, threats. All of those things get counted. And so we are always fighting almost a losing battle in those. But we really want to focus on domestic violence as we move forward, because we believe we can have a meaningful change in some of those things. Overall, crime is down, but I told you it was down 13% now. When we're dealing with violent crime and property crimes. The property crime, an interesting note on property crime is that it's been driven by the other thefts. All categories were trending downwards, but the other thefts off a car. So somebody either is stealing your car, stealing something from inside your car, or stealing something off your car, and those right there drive our property crimes up. Not to mention, I'm not even talking about the Kia Hyundai situation. Not right now. The next page, violent crime comparisons. I just mentioned 103 homicides we had in 2022. As you can see, the juvenile arrest and victims 10 and 7. 2023 we had 118 total homicides, 8 being arrested being juveniles, 10 of those being juvenile victims. At 2024, these are the number that we're investigating. We also investigate some homicides from some of our municipalities, so that's why there's a difference in numbers. The numbers that I said earlier are our numbers that we are responsible for. The other numbers added onto this for 31 versus 30, that is when we're working with our municipalities to help solve their homicides. Next. The violent crime robbery comparisons, which I talked about before, down 8%. That's always a plus against last year. We're turning the corner. The hardest part of our year is coming up when it gets a little warmer. So we're going to be battling this trend all summer long. I think that was a song too, all summer long. You know what? I'm not even gonna say nothing. See how you picking on me? Already gun recoveries and arrests with our ghost guns. 2024, and I think the Supreme Court just announced they're taking up the ghost gun argument in this session, which will have a impact on unserialized weapons, because that's what they are. But we had a steady this year 63. At this time last year we had 88. A lot of the gun arrests are trending downwards. I would like to take a lot of credit for why they're trending downwards, but the advent of the new law last July 1st that said that no searches could be conducted of a car that was reeking of cannabis odor, then police cannot search that vehicle. And so a lot of those searches came looking for marijuana. Guns were in the car. And that is the reason why you're seeing a downward trend in the numbers of weapons found on the street. The alarming number really is juveniles with, gun arrests, 35 gun arrests. Yeah.
Can I take a point of privilege to
Yeah.
ask you to expand that? But if there's can you expand other probable cause aspects that our police can search the vehicle?
There are 11 or 12 or so exceptions that police can, search a vehicle outside of, it being, a probable cause on that. I'll let Deputy Chief McCreary kind of explain. His people are responsible for most of what happens out there on
If you don't
patrol.
mind. Thank you,
The majority of the stops that we see now come through officer interactions on the traffic stops. Majority that we're seeing tend to be plain view. We are seeing, and I actually saw one last night where there was a DUI arrest that gives an officer an opportunity to search the vehicle. But a majority are coming from Plainview through that first interaction with traffic stops and some of the benefits that we have from having video and body camera assist us with that, with making probable cause. And I know with your time with the state's attorney's office, I'm sure you would have loved to have some of that footage to assist in some of these arrests. But yeah, majority are coming from Plainview. Occasionally we have DUI arrests, things of that nature, impound inventories, and consent searches.
And I just wanted to highlight that because I do agree with you, Chief, in sort of mixed stomach feelings about our new state law.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to know that you all are doing all you can to train our officers
Absolutely.
on all the other ways that they can search the vehicle and hounding them into their brains.
Yeah.
That they can do that and that they're getting extra training on that.
Yeah,
And that's
Deputy Chief Leitner and his
Yeah,
team do an
I was
excellent
just
job.
about to say that.
And I also do want to say, Chief gave the men and women in Bureau Patrol a lot of credit, but Major Waddy and Deputy Chief Olaire do an excellent job with their carjacking and addiction unit, their gang unit. They're also out there helping us fight the good fight to protect the public.
thank you. Maybe continue, Chief. Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, and thank you for making that a point of, Deputy Chief Leitner, our training and education division, they train in, all, exceptions to, a warrant, and, because it's a violation of the law for us, that's how we violate a law, get in trouble with internal affairs, or, get charged with a crime for violating the well-documented Supreme Court cases. And they have a whole segment in our training academy of training recruits, and then they have to pass a test, and then we have refresher training talking about these things. We get constant updates, which is one of the reasons why this hasn't totally fell off the map with triple digit reductions, is that officers exercise a great degree of the warrantless exception. So thank you so much for pointing that out. The ghost guns are very high. What we're looking at into juveniles with weapons, how many of them had ghost guns, which are polymer 80. Get on the internet, order a kit, and put a gun together that actually works. That's been a problem. We're seeing an increase in 3D printed weapons. Young kids who are more attuned to technology are making, those type of weapons. Young people are, and they are serialized weapons. They fall in the same category. Next is carjackings, which has plagued us for the past, 3 years. It's been, very troublesome. I think this is the carjacking interdiction unit, which I created back in 2021. And it falls under the Bureau of Investigation. You heard Deputy Chief McCreary talk about some of the work that they do with the Washington Area Vehicle Enforcement Team, which we call WAVE, and they make a really high impact under, Deputy Chief Olaire's not here, and the acting Deputy Chief Waddy. They do a fantastic job, but the numbers of juveniles is what the alarming stat is. Juvenile increases arrest for young people who are charged with carjacking, and that has been the biggest problem that we see, that so many young people are carjacking, but we are catching them and we're putting them through the system. We're not criminalizing people who are already committing a crime, a violent crime, not just a crime. Next page. We talked about property crime. I just put you down into the what we're dealing with stolen vehicles, and how Kia, Hyundai, plagued us for a long time. For several, it's been 3 years now. What started in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and gravitated towards all states. This TikTok trend, YouTube trend, social media trend of stealing Kias and Hyundais. We've given out, with the help of Kia, Hyundai, steering wheel locks. Many of you have them. If you don't, Dr. Bailey behind me can make sure your office gets some steering wheel locks. We do have a event coming up. It's not solidified yet, but we believe it's going to take place in May. With Kia and Hyundai, upgrading their cars with the new software to to prevent this, and we'll be still giving away steering wheel locks to drive down the increase, because last year this increase was so magnificent it drove our property crime up, and we're expecting a little something different this year to help. Well, I think a lot of states sued them, so you know, yeah, it's they was settling too, by the way. You know, they didn't want no trouble, so yeah, that's the attorney talking right there. The so the the annual crime reduction initiatives that we have, we run several crime initiatives throughout the year. Becomes a daily way of life for us to focus on reduction in crime initiatives, and we're focused on really different areas for that have been weighed in by our intelligence center for statistical analysis, and all divisions, all bureaus play a part in crime reduction. We run a lot of overtime with cast or teams that are focused on proactive patrol out in certain areas. The target area action grids, which are what we call a hex. It looks like a honeycomb, and we focused on very small geographical locations to try to drive the crime down from there, which is often very difficult trying to sew this together. We did the Walters Lane overtime. I look over to Councilwoman Blagay. She's well aware of that, and thank you for pushing that forward with your leadership. We were very successful. Deputy Chief McCreary was talking to me the other day about it, and crime over there has remained in a decrease because of that thing and what we did over there with Walters Lane Initiative. But if it wouldn't have been for teamwork, I don't know if we could still say that. A lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. That's not over. Our holiday crime initiatives, we're focused on shopping center areas where our citizens go and shop and get ready for the holidays. Then we have division level overtime initiatives that, again, are focused on very pointed areas. Each one of you with a district for crime or looking at specific crime. Do you have anything that you would like a division commander to focus on? You talk to that division commander or Deputy Chief McCreary, and we make those things happen throughout the year. Next page. I'll just briefly go over this because I just wanted to highlight our relationship with Kathy. We are still in a very vibrant relationship with going forward with how we advocate and how we provide services to victims. We are victim centric. I am victim centric. Our department is victim centric, and our partners, and we form with family services, Kathy, all of our partners, we formed a really strong foundational relationship that serves our citizens best. I think we always find better services when we join together and not just operate in silos. So I just wanted to make sure I highlighted that. Next slide. Our U Visas program. I know Committee Chair Fisher, you've always shown an interest in what's going on with our U Visas. Today we are at 117 in the hopper, and the oldest one is December 2023. So we are working through the U visas. We often get large packs, from different attorneys, 8, 10, 15 at a time. But we are working through them and making sure that they are sound. And I know that's always a specific interest, but I think it came up in the past that somehow somebody had believed that we were, not doing anything with U visas and we were pushing them behind or not, doing our business. Annapolis. So yeah, I got you. So that falls under Assistant Chief Hale Shop. He is attuned to it. Major Watkins behind me isn't my chief of staff in the room. All of this falls under their purview, but they make things happen. But I wanted to make sure I gave you the number, and since December 2023. Next slide. We talk about some of our programs since we're just not about enforcement. We are about community services. We're about crime prevention and, building relationships. And I think our Community First office does a really great job under Dr. Bailey's leadership, and also in patrol with our COPS program. But we all lend a hand to some of the programs I'm going to mention. And I won't go over all of these programs. I just want to, talk about a few. As you can see, we do SALT, the triad. which is law enforcement and health and human services and all agencies that support our seniors, our seasoned citizens, our retired citizens, or anybody along those lines. So we have a partnership. Our Police Athletic League, I'm just going to mention these because I'll go on to the next slides in a minute. Law Enforcement Explorers Program, which Hyattsville has the largest program for our explorers, and they're doing some magnificent work. Just last year, they went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, placed first, and one of our individuals, there was a first, and we got individual got second place. He got, yeah. Yes. So they our first time we sent them there under her leadership, and they went up there in Tennessee and represented us very well in Prince George's County. So that's a plus for our young people. Our Real Talk sessions, our Leadership in Life camp, which I'll talk about those in a minute, just a second. I just talked about Triad, focusing on what our seniors with financial crimes, scams, because a lot of our seniors are getting scammed. And so we're out at the senior recreation centers. We're going to the community centers, and they are always interested in learning. But we've had some of our just not, retired seniors, or we think that, they're not, working, they're enjoying a retired life. We've had many of our people, including high political people, get scammed with some of these, showing up. I just don't only think that people think they can't get scammed, but I've seen it. Well-educated people get scammed. And so it's important. Next slide, our Police Athletic League. We're always bragging on our police athletic. We always forget the slash, but the slash is Athletic Activities League. So we do more than athletics with our young people. Some of our programs with badges for baseball, mentoring program, young entrepreneurs. And I ain't going to forget that Councilman Hawkins promised me some money for the young entrepreneurs program. So yes, he did. But no, not yet. But I will enjoin that all council members give a little money to the Young Entrepreneurs Program right here. I won't ask for a commitment on camera. Yeah, that's kind of hard, right? Because this presentation is not finished. We have innovative outlets, tennis, which one of our greats here, Tiafo, back in the days, he was with us at one point. Summer baseball camps. We have the first baseball field, which is the Cal Ripken, the Iron Man, over at the first one that's on a police facility, on police ground, over on Barlow Road. We have the baseball skills and drills camps, summer camps, martial arts. We partner with NGOs for football clubs. We have a running club, a soccer club. We took some kids to see the Wiz. Is that the Wiz, right, Dr. Bailey? We took them over to D.C. to see the Wiz. We took them up. They went skiing. Was that skiing or what they call it? Snow tubing. We took in kids. I mean, she has expanded our program beyond the reaches or thought that we believe we could with all of our young people in Prince George's County. So they're doing a magnificent job. Last page over here. Some of the things that we've done in the past year, because we often hear about our enforcement. We just don't hear about all the great things that the police are doing. And I'll say to the committee chair here, thank you for coming out when we did the Shop with a Cop, that you were out there, and we appreciate you so much. But we've had backpack giveaways, 800 backpacks. We even gave Councilman Hawkins a few of them,
He stole them.
I didn't want to say that. I wasn't. What I'm saying is I tend to have given to Councilman Hawkins more than he has given me. And I just want to say that. I just have to put that out there. This is just for you sitting at the table that I've done that. Can you change that, Councilman Olson? Because I need that. I'm not going to say nothing, Councilman. We switched teams. We had a coat drive. We gave 200 coats out to the kids. We went over to the school. What school is that, Dr. Bailey? That we went to? We haven't this year. We haven't did it yet. That was last year. Yeah, okay. So we got to get some lunch. And so we did the sock drive, the Toys for Tots, the biggest on this eastern seaboard with 80,000 toys and 7,500 families or so. We hosted the Core Rice program, which is a beautiful program. I hope to see you guys in December. I always do. the annual Pride Walk, which the first annual was last year. We're doing it again this year in June at the National Harbor. You know where you wash my car. You'll be right there in that same spot. And so, and of course, I talked about the snow tubing. You can find that on the Channel 9 USA channel. And even just a couple of weeks ago, we gave out shoes, boxing shoes to some underprivileged boxers. One of them is a national champ. He won one of his bouts last week in a new weight class. So we're just always trying to engage the community in many different ways. So a lot of work that the police are doing besides fighting crime, trying to prevent crime, but we're just trying to connect with the community and bridge some of the gaps that exist between police and community, better relationships. With that, Madam Chair, we're finished with our presentation.
Thank you so much, Chief Aziz, and thank you for everything that you do every day. I'll now turn to Director Early for his budget comments, and then I will take questions from colleagues. I know Councilmember Watson, I have you in the queue first. Director Early.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Few things. One thing I just want to make sure the council is aware because as the police have tied in, so much of what we talked about today is tied to many different departments. One thing that has happened in this, with this year and the coming year, is that the capital program that the police have is now being managed through, for the most part, with a few exceptions, through Department of Central Services. So that would be where questions would be there. There, obviously, the discussion around fleet was raised. That's a discussion that's going on also with Central Services with fleet about the whole issue of what we will do in the future in regard to fleet. So that is over in that area. There are a number of things related to Homeland Security. The item, of course, of cameras, of radios, of redoing body protection. All of those items are in some ways tied to Homeland Security, and there are discussions there. There's also we have the gun range, and we have the vehicle training coming online, which will hopefully help a bit. That's also tied there, and then I did want to mention that. And I think that Anya may actually be surprised. I just wanted to comment on page 13, the charts that on her presentation is actually a very good display of what we're talking about positions and where it's most probably, we're hoping to do better than that, but the most probable result. And we may be making some adjustment in the end of the later in the budget process in terms of total positions and how they're funded. And that is what I have.
Thank you, Director Early, for that. Colleagues, I'll take your questions. I saw Councilmember Watson, then Councilmember Legay, and I'll let the gentleman.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Oh, how wonderful it is to be here, to see your all smiling faces. Probably one of my favorite departments here in Prince George's County. I just have three quick questions. First one is about crossing guards. So I want to thank you. I took a picture of Chief Aziz while he was helping our children cross the street. Thank you for filling in. You all are doing a great job. But my question is in regards to recruitment for crossing guards, and have you all seen, firsthand how dangerous some of those intersections are that you have been assigned to?
Well, yeah, thank you so much, Councilwoman. I appreciate you. And I was out there. It was very treacherous out there. It's been a minute since I've been in the middle of the street directing traffic. And so what I would like to say before I pass this on, because I think my two deputies to my right, Deputy Chief Leitner and Deputy Chief Gomez, will add value to this to answer that question. But I will like to take this time to say I want to give kudos to the school crossing guards. They do a fantastic job every single day, rain or storm, shine. They go out there and they cross our kids and they love it. And we count on them to do a magnificent job, and they do. They have risen to the occasion every single time, and they don't get enough thanks across the board. So I just want to publicly thank them today for what they do. Yeah, I'll let them talk first. You can say that, Hale.
Deputy Leitner, can you use your mic, please? Or Deputy Gomez.
Okay, I'll take it. Good morning. As far as crossing guards and recruiting, we haven't had an issue with recruiting. So when it comes to that, we've actually been able to get the applications in. They flood in. I know that's probably, hard to believe, but we actually have a good program with getting the information out about crossing guards. The issue I feel like we fall into is getting the crossing guards the applicants through the background process. So that's kind of where they fall out. They don't respond back, or other things. It's taking too long, or things of that nature for them to get hired with the county. As far as being able to assess the intersections and how dangerous they are, we have assessments, and we do assessments of those intersections. So we do know how dangerous they are. Hence why we push in to get crossing guards and backfilling with officers, because we do know how dangerous those intersections are.
So what can we do, or how can we make the process a little easier in regards to, is it because of the background checks and they're not passing the background checks, or is there some issue with HR? I'm not understanding.
Some of it has to do with just the length of time that it takes. We met with OHRM at length and discussed the background process for them. They were actually going through a public safety background, which is a lot more extensive than a regular civilian background. So we came to an agreement with OHRM to modify what was being done to put it more in line with the regular civilian background, which should bring the background process down to weeks instead of months, as it is with a police officer. It takes anywhere from 2 to 4 months from the recruiting phase to where we onboard somebody. And crossing guards, we're almost falling into that trap, but it's down to weeks. The problem we have is, I think right now we have a backlog of about 55 applicants that we can't bring in and start the process with, because we have to have a position number to place them into in order to put them into the background process. So all our position numbers, I think we have 70 open position numbers right now. All of them are filled with potential applicants that have been sent over to OHRM. Until they come back with a disposition and we either hire them or remove them from the process, we cannot put those additional 55 people into the process. So we get stalled out. Like, everything moved very quickly. Recruiting for this, there was such a wide campaign through the media, through the council. Everybody reached out to everybody they knew. We were flooded with applicants. Many of them disqualify themselves right off the bat, but the ones that can go through, we get into the process, and then we just stall until we can get those people through the background process and move past it.
Yeah, and we were also able to change some of the minimum qualifications. We lowered the age from 21 to 18, so that some of our college students, if they were in class, can apply and try to help us out. And so we changed 3 or 4 requirements, and we raised the pay to $20 an hour in order to help folks come in.
So since this campaign, how many have we hired so far?
Eight.
Yeah.
So a total of 8 for how many open positions?
80.
Wow. Okay.
But we do have, again, we have about 70 in background at this moment. So
70
once
in
those start coming
background.
through, and I just signed some packets. I signed 4 or 5 packets yesterday to hire. So they did come back, I think just this morning. So,
But at this point, you all are backfilling the current open crossing guard areas.
Yeah, what Deputy Chief Gomez and her team was submitted me a plan to make sure that those intersections were covered. And they are covered through some of the things that you've seen with our command staff, who was first. We have some on-duty personnel who are working in non-call answering positions. And then we have overtime initiatives where we send police out there. So no intersection that has had school crossing guards in the past has been left uncovered until we can fill this hiring, this gap for being hired. And there's so many nuances to go in on that. But,
we also had some other executives throughout the county come out and assist in some of those intersections. So we want to make sure we thank those as well, whether it be fire and some other departments volunteered to come out as well. So we've had a lot of help.
And you guys are welcome to come out also.
Absolutely.
Sure, thank you. Appreciate that.
We
Let
got
me know
yellow
when.
vests.
I would love to do that.
We get your vest and a whistle.
I would love to do that. No, but thank you so much. I appreciate your work. Please don't discount that. And moving on to just kind of juvenile justice. You know, we had a push last year to, you know, the community is just very, you know, have a lot of questions and wondering, you know, what's going on in regards to how we take care of or help the process with the juvenile crime. And I know, you know, the state had a huge bill, juvenile justice bill. Wanted to find out from you all, how will that assist us in our work here in Prince George's County?
Well, you know, I think, you know, some of the information, and I do appreciate, you know, everyone who was involved in that. I believe that, you know, some of the things that are put forward here to, you know, help us, you know, get back in line from the previous bill was a little maintenance that had to take place about how we talk to young people who had to wait on an attorney instead of getting parental, you know, guidance to have, you know, speak with us. I think because I like to use this example because we just named a sign with Kay, King's mother, and we talked to that kid. You know, he gave us information back when, and then the law changed. That same, you know, how we solved that crime, that wouldn't have been solved under the current law. So getting that back to where it was, that's a major benefit for us. Reducing the age limits of who we can charge and how we can charge them. Not that we are trying to place young people in, you know, the, you know, juvenile facility for the rest of their life, but to add some accountability across the board for young people who may be in need of mental health services or other resources. And I think the correcting, amending of the law allows us to offer those services in a way that we don't just let you go with no kind of. Yeah, so it's been very difficult. You know, I've liked to follow, you know, Maryland guidelines of what's in the best interest of the child, but there's the purview of the police chief is what is in the best interest of the victim, and that thing is first to me. So those things. What else I got? Oh yeah, he's talking about the DJS. I think they, you know, form the line, share the load about how do you see how's a kid processed in a system, a juvenile, before he actually gets inside the state attorney's office. And so we've had some programs. We're working on Thrive right now. So part of the programs and that legislation was to provide the resources that's needed, and Prince George's County was chosen as a site for Thrive with Dr. Schiraldi and his team. So there's a few things that I think will benefit us, but those the ages of charging was very beneficial, and who we could talk to, how we could talk to them is going to be is going to put us back in line with where we're going.
Thank you. One more question, and actually I can get this information from you if you could just email it to me. I wanted to find out the number of Kias and Hyundais stolen in 2023. The number, no, is that for 2023? I know I heard 22.
Yeah, we have it. I just got that sent. Who just sent that information for me? Somebody just sent that information for me. I don't know if it was Watkins behind me. Well, we had that in the deal, but I just had it over here. So somebody was asking for Sekinda in here. I'll get it right here. It's no issue.
I got it. I see
You got it?
Yes,
Okay.
2023 year to date. Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's been a tough go for us with if you have a Kia and a Hyundai.
Yes.
Good luck.
I'm working on some stuff to help you out with that. So.
Oh, good. That'll be great.
Thank you.
And work on a lawsuit to get them to give us the money.
That's what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, are you complete, Councilman Watson? Councilmember Begay.
All right, so thank you so much. I want to start by thanking you, Chief, for you all's work at Walters Lane. I have followed up with some of the community leaders there, and they have expressed a lot of appreciation. So I want to thank you all for that. I wanted to start off with the hiring, and I actually want to start off asking Director Early about this. I believe that the report showed that we put aside money for what, 300 additional police officers, and we only have 48 hired. So I have a question, and if that's wrong, if I got the numbers wrong, because that's what I got, what, and I guess I'll go to you all after that. But first of all, what happened to the money if we allocated money for the police officers and they weren't hired? What happened to that money? How do we what happens to the money?
Well, it's all under compensation, and as you probably can see, the amount of money used for overtime was higher than we originally anticipated. But we frankly when we look at this coming year, for example, we've got positions that are, it's unlikely they'll be filled, but we know that if we don't, we're going to need to have some additional overtime money. And so that's how it gets used.
Got it. Okay. So basically, how much money do you recall? How much money was put aside for hiring? How many positions in the FY24 budget?
I can't tell you the number of dollars, but number of people. And Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we were looking to get 100 people through, 100 recruits through the training academy.
Okay, but we budget, and I guess I'll ask it. How many was anticipated? How many were you told in the FY24 that you could hire?
Well, I think that was still the same. Ms. Giles here, who was our budget guru, but I believe it was still the same. It was 100. We were projected 100 to 120 that we were trying to get through.
Okay, and we only got 48.
We got, when you're looking at either calendar year or fiscal year. And so those numbers change depending on what you're looking at for. Yeah, right.
Because our staff said 48.
You did what?
Our staff said 48. That's where I got that number from.
Deputy Chief Leitner, what's the numbers that for the calendar year and the fiscal year, if you have them in front of you?
So, I mean, the 48 is what ended up being hired. That's not what we start Academy with. Our target is always, it's to get at least 100 in. Right now, recruiting is extremely difficult. My understanding is if we were able to hire more than 100, the funding would be there for that. But our target and what we try to get is at least 2 classes per fiscal year. If we can get a third, that's great. But we're trying to get up to 50 per class. But it's, anytime you start a class with 50, you're going to have an attrition rate. Not everybody makes it through. Not everybody has the stomach for this kind of work. So you can reasonably expect anywhere from 10 to 20% of that class to not graduate for various reasons. So if we started, and I don't know what the numbers are that we started with, but I would guess to graduate 48, we probably started with at least 65. And then through attrition, through people, not making it out, through injuries where they get rolled back and recycled into the next class, that attrition rate brings it down to 48.
And we just started class with about 30 today.
Yep.
Okay, and I guess my question is what is the holdup? What can we do? Because a part of the issue is that when we go out in the community, there's always, we always hear people saying we don't have enough police presence, there's increase in crime, things like that. And we always say we're down staffing, which I've gotten from you all, and we're going to be hiring. And then, then we get here and, last year you all said you were going to hire people and we've only hired 48.
Yeah, this be a long one right here, but bear with me. We are in a crisis of hiring across the nation, and we can't seem to get out of it across the nation, nationwide. And let me give some anecdotal information. My colleagues at major cities chiefs, 2 departments out west, far out west, 2 of them, they pay the highest starting salaries in the nation. One of them started $117,000 a year. Guess what? They're 500 police officers down. Most of those departments that are paying it down across the nation, we're experiencing this. In Prince George's County in 2012, we had 7,995 people come and say, I want to be a police officer. Fast forward, 2022, we just had over 800 applications of people who said they wanted to be a police officer. That pool, generally about 10 to 15% are taken. They just don't qualify to be police officers. So you're not going to even take a large percentage of those. Now we had been competing. Even this some of your August council members here authorized us more recruiting money. We focused on military. We focused on historically black colleges and universities. We traveled more distances than we've ever traveled. We've established a homegrown campaign. We've put out the commercial that many have seen, 2 different commercials targeting, focusing on recruitment, which is the first in our history to even have a commercial. We're the only ones to have a commercial. You have to go to. Yeah, they are. They really are. And so they want Brian Fisher, who is our guru, to come and do this. Hawaii called him and want Hawaii police. They want him to do their commercial. He can't do it because he had to get us the money. And so it's a very dynamic, complex question about our desire to get to where we want to be, to make sure we have a full contingency. Does the applicant pool doesn't rise to that level, or the desire doesn't get to that level on that side. So we're in a fight to bring people on here. And I say, when we say we know people, we want people, but let me tell you what we're doing to try to circumvent that, because that's a very valid question. What we're doing now to circumvent it, we have a shift change. We're moving to a 12-hour pitman schedule. So when people talk about visibility, that should help with visibility. When we're going for 1 supervisor, 2 or 3 officers, we'll be going from 1 supervisor to 11, 12, 13 officers out there. That enhances visibility. We're doing a redeployment strategy for those who are working in investigative units or anything that is non-call answering and not critical to that kind of mission like homicide. They're going back to patrol in May in a redeployment schedule, so that we can actually do exactly what you said: more visibility, more cops out there on the street, while we combat a 350 decrease, 350 officer decrease in our workforce, when we are literally 150 to 175 to having a real realization that we can provide those professional police services. So we're stitching together all of these things. But the one thing that we can't change is that your desire to be a police. We don't have a lot of input in it except those things I did on the first slide: professionalism, integrity, and honor, and all those things that make us a vibrant police force. People have to believe it, but they don't. We're in a challenge of it.
Please add that 30 to 48.
So we have a difficulty with people who are in, because you said he got 800 applicants.
800 in 2022. Last year it crept back up. We went 1,100 last year. So we
don't have it's not because people don't want to be, it's the process to get in.
Well, no. It's you don't have as many people trying to come here. That's why I gave those numbers. They have decreased every single year of people who are interested in serving the citizens in a police manner. Whatever variables we can attest to that, there's so many reasons why those have went down. Some of them we have been responsible for ourselves about how we portray ourselves. The second deal is the applicant pool. You may want to be a police officer, but you show up and they're disqualifiers. And I'll just use an outrageous disqualifier, something like you was a crack cocaine dealer, you smoked crack last week, something like that. That would disqualify you. I'm using an outrageous example. I'm not saying that has occurred, but you would get disqualified based on that. And so we can't bring you through the system here. And that is a problem. So if your applicant pool shrinks, and you're already on nationwide, it's 10 to 15% of all applicants are taken, then that has a direct result on how we can actually fill our positions. Not to mention, there is a new dynamic in the last 10 years that says, please don't go join I want to be a part of it. They need to change. We need a new solution. Oh, but by the way, I don't want to be there. And parents say, don't you go join the police department. Be a doctor, engineer, attorney, do one of the other professions. So we're battling that. I ain't saying that. I'm not. Yeah, Hell's mic is on. He said he can't work from home. I'm not gonna deal with that one right there. But if we could find a way for police to work from home, that would be. I think Alexandria or something. I want to put them under the bus. I think they was entertaining that at one time.
Okay.
There could be a rumor though.
And let me just ask, what is the goal in the FY25 budget? What is the goal for hire for the FY25 budget?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
No, I was gonna say we're again 100. We have we're targeting at least 100, but we have funded, if we can get a third class, that would be great. But we have all the difficulties we were just describing.
Okay, so the goal is 100 more. And how many are we down right now? Like you had that
That's what I was just saying. We're literally from 1,786 versus the numbers that we have now. Then that it results in about 350 down from the total that we are allotted for that we can have. That's 1,786. So we're down 350 from that.
we're like at
Now,
the same
but
thing.
but
as
let me
last
say
year.
this, because as soon as I say that number and it's high, it almost seems like it's unreachable. The number I gave a minute ago, 150 to 175, that is realistic, that it could change the dynamics on how we deliver a professional police service. So I'm not saying that by all means, nobody's 400, 350 people are not breaking down this door. They're not breaking down the door of any police department, by the way, from DC to Baltimore to San Francisco and San Jose and Oakland. It's not occurring. But if we can get 150 to 175 people in this door in a reasonable amount of time as we fight attrition. And that success for attrition is retention has been, when I showed up here, it was 12 officers leaving per month. We're now down to some 5-point scale. So we'll say 5.5 to 6 officers are leaving per a month. That is a tremendous drop from what we had. So that is an improvement for retention. That adds to the baseline. The next thing is we have to get a real sense of what civilianization looks like. You've seen Executive Manager Lise on the end. She heads the Bureau of Forensics. And when we look and see what jobs can a civilian do versus what a police can do, we're going to have to actually make a plan to move police officers back to police positions and hire civilians. Now, that's troublesome because in our system, Mr. Early would tell you that's an enhancement. So when we're looking for efficiency, we have to make a tough decision. Do we want an enhancement or do we want an efficiency? That's a real civilianization plan that the staffing studies have indicated that needs to occur. So we put all of these things together, and maybe we can turn the corner in our county for getting 150, 175 officers back to the street, because that is our base that is missing. Our base is missing that number. The base affects everybody.
I just have two more questions. I'll talk to you that. I think that's something I'm really concerned about. So I will reach out to you all directly on that. I did see that our domestic violence numbers are very much up, and I feel like there's been a lot of focus on mental health. But is there an issue of like what we could do? Do you all have a unit that you're working with domestic violence? Because while we've been talking about property crime, there hasn't been as much of a focus on domestic violence. But those numbers looked very high to me.
Yeah, well, I'll let the acting deputy chief, Major Wadi, answer that question. But I will say, we have been focusing on domestic violence from our end. We in service delivery, we tend to be, policing tends to be departments that answer calls, takes a report, or make an arrest when necessary. Even last year, we changed even our protocol that you wouldn't just, no code a call or send them to the commissioner, that officer would take the report, which is partly responsible for our increase, that we change how we respond to a domestic violence. Just to bring awareness to it, not that we're in just enforcement. We did the 5K walk with domestic violence, bringing awareness to those things. We have, put into place a real dynamic brochures and pamphlets that we're going to give out at the calls that we go to for people to have services for victims. The victim services coordinator is either coming on board or will be on board, but I don't want to steal the acting deputy chief's thunder, so I better send it down to her.
And I do want to just add, when she asked the question, I do note that there was a discussion last year of increasing the jurisdiction of the sheriff's department under District 2 and some of the other police districts. And I would say with that partnership, would that help address, because that's a money issue. Because if we do that, that means increasing funding towards the sheriff department. Would that help address some of the domestic violence concerns?
I think that, the main thing would help us if, families stop, committing crimes against each other. and do something different. But we have a very good relationship with the pilot program, because I like to say pilot because that's what it was that happened. I reformalized the MOU just to take pilot out of it. So we're appreciative to the sheriff department for the calls that they answer in Division 3 and 8. They answer some upwards of 70, 80% of those type of calls that come out. The rest of them are handled by the Bureau of Patrol from outside. All other domestic violence calls across the county are answered by the Bureau of Patrol. And so the biggest, place that we would have that would be of call answering next for domestic violence would be Oxon Hill Division. And not the Bowie Division, where we would have that at. The biggest impact would be there, not
Okay, District 5.
no, District 4, Oxon Hill. That's the biggest place we have. Now, I'll put on record here that if we had the right amount of officers were coming through this door, I would cease that immediately. So everybody knows this. The police department is responsible for answering those calls, and we don't. That pilot program that has went on for so long is one now of necessity that we appreciate our brothers and sisters and Sheriff Carr for helping us out on that. But it's a police response, and it is a police role that we answer domestic violence calls, or we teach police officers never how to engage with one of the biggest calls outside of a traffic stop for policing, and is important to policing across this nation. So I'm not an advocate for that, but I'm in real sense, I appreciate what they do. We're going to maintain that relationship now. But if some miracle happened and we're able to answer those calls, we're going to answer those calls like a police department should.
Could we have Deputy Chief Waddy answer? And
Well,
could we
I
all
was
be,
trying to get
and
to
could we
it.
all be a little bit quicker because
We need some lunch.
yes, I'm hungry and y'all are taking very long. So I'll be real.
You said
Deputy
it.
Chief Waddy.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think Chief Aziz has answered the question. I
Okay,
don't
and
have anything else
how
to
much
add.
will it cost to expand
Good job,
the
Deputy Chief.
pilot program?
Let me say that doesn't save us anything. It simply shifts the issue, and the sheriff has a similar issue of shortage of officers. So it doesn't, in terms of the county's overall costs, it makes no difference.
But of course, as the chief said, it's a helpful program. So if we expand it, it looks like it will be helpful, especially when we're down 350 officers.
But the sheriff is also down officers and has the same problem, and the cost is about the same. So it might save money for the police, but it increases in the sheriff, and the net for the county would be a wash.
Okay, all right. What,
This should be about prevention, though, not enforcement. And so that's another form of enforcement. What has to happen is the repeat offenders in the criminal justice system have to be addressed. We have to target. So we're doing we're doing hotspots around domestic violence specifically as well. We're doing some new programs in the schools with youth and stopping this cycle, because it doesn't start when they're adults. They start abusing as youth. We also did the Momentum Men's Conference talking to young men about not starting this cycle. So there are other things in this ecosystem that Chief always talks about that need to be addressed beyond just answering that call and doing the enforcement, which is what the sheriff does.
Councilmember.
Okay, all right.
I want to be fair to all our colleagues in time, and I don't want to start putting time limits on questions. So if we could go to Councilmember Olson.
can I do one more? I just want to ask about the camera program and
Is it
just
gonna
how
be
that's
short?
going. Yeah, I mean, it should be. That's what I
Okay.
want to ask about the camera program.
All right, your last question, please.
Which part? Which you
Are
want to
we-
answer on it?
Yeah, so we were supposed to be giving out the cameras to communities. We put funding for that. Are you all doing that?
Well-
like door ring cameras or anything?
Well, I want to say we supported it, the legislation, but the actual process of it, if somebody correct me at the table, was Office of Community Relations.
Got it. Okay.
That wasn't a police did.
No,
it wasn't us. So, but we support it, and I believe in it, and I think I saw Miss Agnew Saturday, and think about young Jay's Agnew. So I'm troubled by it, but thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Councilmember Olson, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Signing bonuses, where are we in terms of signing bonuses? I know our surrounding jurisdictions all have them as well, and I'm not sure we're at the same place.
Oh, well, yeah, we're definitely not in the same place. I'll let Deputy Chief Leitner answer it, but when we say we're not in the same place, when Baltimore is upwards of 25 to 30,000, and DC has 30,000, and they're offering a $6,000 dollar housing bonus. While that money can bring people through the door who are focused on money instead of careers, it is problematic for us because they're offering a high volume of money for bonuses across the board. But I'll let DC Leitner explain what we're doing here.
Yeah, so our current hiring bonus for an entry-level police officer is
Deputy Chief Leitner, can you just put the mic towards you there?
our current entry-level police officer hiring bonus is $10,000 with a starting salary of $62,911 for base pay. For an experienced police officer, that bonus goes up to $15,000, and their pay can go up to, it's based on how much experience they have, and we weigh that out when we hire them. But that base pay for an EPO can go up to $71,160 currently. It is comparable to other agencies, but it's significantly below others. Like we're at the low end of agencies that are doing hiring bonuses. We're matching the very bottom.
Okay. And I understand we want people who are just interested in money, but money does help.
Yeah, that money always speaks volumes, don't it?
So I don't know, Mr. Early. I mean, have we looked at that issue at all? I mean, in terms of if we're trying to get people to sign up with us.
Well, we had identified a pool of money for the police department to find the pool. I think if you look on page 16 of the report that was made by the policy group, they have a nice listing of. Now this is oversimplified because, you know, as was mentioned, ours can be 10 to 15,000, and other people have other kinds of variances. So, you know, it is possible to make adjustments, but the amount in the pool, again, was the amount that we structured in the budget. We're trying to, you know, we're trying to make everything fit in, and we do feel like we're in the right ballpark. You note the Metropolitan Police are the highest at 25,000, and they have, I think, 500 that they're short. So it's helpful, but it's not a panacea.
Right. Okay. But maybe something. I mean, I know money's tight, but
Yeah, give us that money.
let's maybe, Madam Chair, we may need to have some kind of a conversation about that. And I know we've already talked about crossing guards, but I do want to mention this is getting them through the process, the background check and all that. That is a OHRM issue, or is that some other, like the police? I mean, where is that? Where's the bottleneck there?
Well, you know,
yeah, it's what we're here for. I mean, we'll be talking about OHRM too, and
yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think that question would better be served by OHRM, you know, answering it.
Okay. Mr. Early, we're going to have another serious conversation with OHRM. And last year we put in some extra money to get more staffing there and a new attorney in there, an additional attorney. So that is something. I know we're dealing with the police budget now, but it impacts everything.
That's true. I do want to say that while there are certainly issues, the hiring, the overall speed of hiring across the county has been dramatically better than it was 18 months ago. We're down. We were at about 120 days. The target was I think it was 87 or 82, and they're now down in the 60s. And which I think is a pretty good number. The area with there's also been a focus that's been set up on public safety to reduce public safety. So there's been directly under the DCAO and the county staff. There's been a new task force only about 2 months old to really focus on public safety. So I think that's perfectly a good thing to discuss.
Yeah.
I do think they're moving in the right direction.
Well,
And I think some of the items that were mentioned before, we'll see how they play out, but I think we're in the right direction.
Thank you. Well, it's certainly an improvement over abysmal. 82 days is completely unacceptable. So I'm glad that we've improved that by 20 days, but still we've plenty of work to do. Chief, cops officers, they are terrific. Our cops officers have been, addressing, issues out in our community and with our community leaders, and are visible, addressing things that then don't end up turning into larger issues. I know that we've had a reduction in the cops officers in terms of, some neighborhoods have had to be served with double, cops officers doing double duty, serving larger areas. I would ask if we can make sure that those are fully staffed and that all the neighborhoods are covered, because that is what is the communities, the community leaders, that's who they're interacting with. They have their phone numbers. Things are getting done and are very much appreciated. So if we can make sure that we have all those positions, fully staffed, that would be super.
Yeah, well, let me before I pass it to Deputy Chief McCree, so he can provide the answer to this. We take great value in that, and thanks for the compliments for cops, officers out in the community who are doing that. In reality, we like to believe all our police are community police officers, that there's no such thing as a program of groups of officers who only do community engagement. All of our officers are community police officers who should be doing community engagement, and that's the focus. The second thing of it is I haven't reduced any cops officers, so I would like to know further, even offline,
sure,
what it is, but yeah, we fill those positions, but I'll let Deputy Chief McCreary talk about cops. As soon as I say even programs that are even lacking, that's why Community First does the work that they do, and we have placed together all cops units in order to have an indirect chain for actions that they're taking in their communities and things that they need help with, that we form one team for service delivery and not run individual silos. But I'll pass it to Deputy Chief McCreary.
Yeah, absolutely. Our cops do an excellent job. And like the chief said, our cops officers are really just our overall patrol officers that just have more time to assist the community, because they're not responsible for running calls for service. And then, like we've mentioned throughout this, we are experiencing staffing shortages everywhere. We haven't reduced cops, but we haven't been able to backfill positions that have had, retirements, resignations, things along those lines, because we're trying to make sure that we're delivering a service to the community, which generally is calls for service. But I echo your sentiment that the cops officers do an excellent job when it comes to crime prevention, community assistance, community complaints, things along those lines. And hats off to them, because they are available 24 hours, 7 days a week. A lot of the calls that they respond to are during their off-duty time.
Right.
They make sure themselves are available to their community and their constituency. So thank you to them, and hopefully we can bring in more officers like the things we said and backfill some of those positions that we've lost to resignations, retirements, things along those lines.
Deputy Chief, I just wanted to make a comment because I'm interrupting Councilmember Olson, but I'll go back to him. Is I have that on some of the list of my questions. I think there's just been conversations in the community that the COPS program might change, or it might be, I don't know, restructured. And I think, I can't speak for all the council members, but I did want to say that I think it would be a disservice to remove or substantially change the way our COPS officers work. And I think, I just don't know how my district would manage, to be honest.
Might manage better.
Might manage better. Okay, well, we'll see.
I realize what cops do. They go talk to everybody about a change that could possibly come. But fortunately, I've been all over this country, and I probably know how they're structured and what is a professional benefit. So it doesn't erode any service that they have to the community, except who they report to and how they deliver services.
Okay.
So the service won't stop. What stops them from interacting with you or a community person? Nothing. The only thing about it is a different person might be saying, I need you to go interact. And they might not like that.
Okay.
See, that's how some things
I'm
work.
just being honest. So I think we should
Yeah, I used
definitely
to do this.
have.
I used to do it myself. Send back a couple of messages and tell somebody something might change. That way, I could get them to come
I mean,
fight a good battle.
I understand,
Yeah,
Chief.
but I
think
love them though. They're
we
fantastic.
do,
But
and I think as council members who have to deal with the community, and we also are answer to someone too, and that's the
yeah,
public,
they would
and
know the
that's the
change
and
though.
that's our
What-
residents.
what-
I do want to say that I think we should have, robust and transparent conversations on how it would change and the community involvement and how it would change, since I think it would have such a big impact.
That's why I'm saying here in open forum, that relationship doesn't change. Who you report to up is very different from how do you interact with a council person, nothing is in between you, and how you interact with a community person. Nothing is in between you. It does not change. Many reputable departments have both models going. And some people, police just hate two things to stay the same and things to change. So if when we resolve those, we'll get away from those issues. But hearing that kind of talk about who I'm reporting to is very different from your service delivery. You're still going to your same place. You're still in the same neighborhoods. You're still delivering the same services. You say, oh, by the way, but I like these people over here, instead of these people over there. Policing doesn't work like that. So, but we're always willing to have a conversation. But with that said, that means tell me something was on the table. Nothing has changed at this point. I haven't.
I just wanted to add to that. I had a concern and a question as well. Thank you. Keep going, Councilmember Olson.
We don't anticipate any changes. So we work with the
Okay.
the
Yeah,
communities.
Mac has been the biggest cheerleader over here, so he knows what they did. Let me say this because it's important because I know that would come up somewhere to get to this table. Mac knows that he's working with Dr. Bailey. He's working with the division commanders to do the things that I have directed them to do. Engage with the community more, have more events, have more things that break down the barriers. And if I see that and I want more of that, then that's what they're going to deliver. So Mac took that up and said, you will get your request to do more and be more in the communities. That right there is a responsibility and it's accountability, and we will rise to that occasion. So he said, I got it, Chief. We don't have to worry about this. And I trust him that he's going to fix it. Because if I need to fix something, that means something is broken somewhere.
As long as they continue to do the job that they're doing and the service that you guys have become accustomed to, we're just going to ask for a little bit more, but I think we'll be fine there.
Mac has it. We love him, guys. He said he gonna get it right. Tremendous amount of work, though. I can't say that. They do a lion's share of the load. I just always ask for more.
I'm not entirely sure what exactly is going on, but I do love our cops officers, and so does the community, and we want more. I mean, we want more of that.
I do too.
Cops officers are. I mean, they are in a lot of ways the public face and are addressing things all the time. So I can't say enough good about our cops officers. Last question, Madam Chair. I have many more, but how is the crisis response team working? I know that that's a relatively new program. Do officers go out with the crisis response team? I mean, I know that wasn't necessarily the design, although I think sometimes officers do. Could you just talk to us about the crisis response team?
We don't have a co-responder model here. When I got here, it was decided that we would not have not me, it was decided before my tenure. I was familiar with the co-responder model. That was a model that was not desired here. So what it does is they go out even independently through either 911 or 988 or inside of our police dispatch system, and they answer those calls. When they need help from a police officer, then they are able to request an officer to go to that scene and help them. Sometimes it works vice versa. The officer's there first, and he calls upon, I think it's what, I-Mine, a crisis mine? Is that what it is, Mac?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, that's I-Mine, and they call them, and we have it's a good relationship, but again, it's not the co-responder model, and they're doing a great job on that end, and our officers, I haven't had any issues making roll calls, talking to the officers about it. They haven't had any major, concerns with it, so it's that model where anyone could be first, and we call each other's for each other's service, and they call us. They have radios that they can hear the calls themselves, and the dispatcher uses them or alerts them to it and they go sometimes on their own. They hear a call and they think I may be needed, and then other times 988 will send them to someone who's having a mental health crisis. Very good programs, very good direction for police and health and clinicians and people in that field.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Olson. Vice Chair Hawkins, you were next, or you're not next?
Chief, Mr. Early, you all spoke about the recruiting time. The the time frame you were talking about, is that for a regular citizen applying for a county position? Because I thought the police department and fire department and public safety recruitment was like 18 months. That's not the case to go through a whole background. It's changed now.
Actually, you raised a good point. I was talking about for citizens for civilian positions. I was not talking about sworn positions.
Okay, may I ask you another question? So the chief doesn't have to answer it. We worked with you. We worked with the police department along the 210 corridor to deal with those speed cameras and everything. And from that, what we learned was the police department, even the fire department, who deals with those cameras and deal and respond to the issues. Why would it be, or did I misunderstand? Why would, although Homeland Security has the funding, why would it be a challenge with the police department determining what's the best vendor for their video recording and capturing of data? Because the chief spoke about uh, you all going with a new vendor, but it's something going on with the Homeland Security. What's the issue there?
I'm sorry, Councilmember. I'm a little. Are you talking about like speed cameras?
No, I was saying. Let me say. When we dealt with speed cameras in 210, I learned the importance of having the boots on the ground. In other words, having the fire department and the police department that deals with that stuff every day. They have a better understanding of what they need. And so now I'm going to another issue. When the chief spoke, he was saying that they were kind of going back and forth with the Homeland Security on what's the best vendor, opposed to the vendor they are using now. Seems the county police department want to go to another vendor to deal with recording when they come on body cameras. So why would Homeland Security have more say over what the police department need when it comes to body cameras?
Okay,
Wayne McBride can't make all the money.
This isn't really related to Wayne McBride specifically. What the we have as a county had a policy that all of the cameras, because we have body cameras that are police, body cameras in fire, body cameras in sheriff, body cameras that are in the corrections department, so that we'd have one organization that would coordinate that. And since Homeland does cross-departmental things, that they're the organization. And there hasn't been a decision as to who the vendor would be, but there was my understanding, and I think again that's you probably want to have a discussion with Homeland and others about this. But my understanding is that they want to have the right, have to search, have a vendor bidding, the whole 9 yards of a full evaluation and a process. And at the end of the day, that's how it would be determined, as opposed to having making a decision in advance of that evaluation process.
That's fair. Normally, when we do something like this, we have a committee that comes together. Have you all decided on who will serve on that committee yet?
I don't know.
I don't want to say PEG, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know there will be a committee, and I can't answer that. I don't know whether that's been determined yet. I don't think so, but I don't know that.
Okay, thank you. I'm just curious and want to stay informed about how we come up with the individuals that serve on it and the decisions, so that our law enforcement, whether it's police, sheriff, fire, have the best equipment they can possibly have as they out there serving our community. And thank you for all you do, and thank you for answering the hard questions. My last question, Madam Chair, is Chief, you all spoke about the challenge with recruiting new county police officers. How well does the Explorers, you have one of the best Explorers programs in the country, how well and effective, how do they transcend from Explorers to becoming police officers?
Yeah, we have quite a few former explorers who are now police, who have went through that pipeline. Uh, Ideally, what we would like is a person to be an explorer, uh, leave, get out of high school, join the cadet, program, which is not in policing, that would enable them to be employed by Prince George's County. And at 20 and a half years old, they would be able to apply for the police department. In some cases, that has been the case. Other times, they have left the Explorer program. They went on to college or the military or something to that effect, and then they come back to us. But serving as that foundational, for program to allow them to be familiar with police protocol and the atmosphere of policing, even that has been beneficial for us on all ways. So we're introducing them to policing and hoping that they would come and join us in one of those in that capacity. I think what makes us different, because you have to be 21 to start in a police department, not 18, and that makes it more complex. That, yeah, state law says you can't be a cop until you're 21.
Right. So, what rate are they coming in to the police department after they go through all that? Do you all keep up with that?
No, I don't think we track any numbers regarding explorers and how they come back. I want to say at one point when in 2021, when I got here, there was a thought about people who would go through the Explorer program and what departments that they ended up in. We just didn't find the right mechanism format to allow them to come in. So, that's just one of those issues. But I think we can start looking at, how do we track explorers and other young individuals who we touch. Great, and that's a great thought.
Yeah. Evidence of all the comments from my colleagues about the COPS program. I just wanted to say to all of you, Captain Tom Boone is doing an outstanding job. And I just wanted to share that. And Mr. Fisher just arrived, and little did he know of the number of compliments you received on the county police commercial. And you told us Mr. Fisher was behind it. So we want to thank you, sir, for that great commercial.
We're not related.
All right.
You sure?
Yeah, we're sure. I don't know.
He found his way in Lagos, but I don't think we are. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I just have very brief questions, Chief. One, thank you for your leadership, your tenacity. You always make a committee go by quicker and engaging. So I'm just so grateful for that. I wanted to know a little bit about you talked a little bit about, and I know I'm always talking about U visa stuff, which you already mentioned, but I was just a little bit, in particularly in my district, I had a couple of really just sad events with baby Jeremy and other things. I was just wondering about, do you all have any, and something I remind myself all the time is I forget just because I remember something happened doesn't mean my community remembered something happened. Is there anything in our, whether it's in the community policing part or advertisement part, and especially in our districts or just pockets in the county, Councilmember Olson's, all of our districts have immigrant populations. I'm just saying Councilmember Olson because we're neighbors, about reaffirming things like the Trust Act and the U visa and that they're actually available. I think sometimes we forget, you'll have a new Prince Georgian who came here a year ago and they witness a crime and they have no idea that we have Trust Act. You all don't ask anything about status and that the U visa is available as you prosecute. Do we have something that reminds the community, especially the immigrant community, as they're new Prince Georgians all the time, to help you when you are, solving crimes and you are trying to get evidence and witnesses?
Yeah, I don't, I would defer to Deputy Chief McCreary to see what his cops are doing, particularly in your area. in regards to that. We do give out information about different things from victimization or resources that would help. Our COPS program generally facilitates that. I think there's a better job to do, even with our community first, on how we're engaging our Spanish speaking population in different places, and so that is a point of note for us to put that on the forefront at some of the health and safety fairs that we do, or the tables that we set up, that we generate that information out, forthcoming. Deputy Chief McCreary may have some more. Oh yeah, I forgot about Hale. Just reminded me of something. He has great memory. The Spanish Citizens Police Academy, which I call the Community Police Academy, based on even that what you just said. There was some saying it was citizens was kind of separation. So saying it was a community police academy was even better. So we had a large contingency in our last class, even though it wasn't the official Spanish speaking CPA. But we are working towards an all Spanish speaking, Spanish as a first language community police academy, where all of our instructors come in and speak Spanish and talk about what we're doing and make people feel a little bit more inclusive and a little bit more at home. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, man.
And just back to those COPS officers that we discussed earlier, they do an excellent job. Majority of the information that we pass out is through the COPS officers and our investigators. Acting Deputy Chief Waddy and her team, when someone's a victim of a crime, as well as our division level investigators, make sure we do our part to inform. But I think, and Mr. Fisher just stepped out, but I think that there is some avenues that we can do through social media and our media. And I ask for the council that once we start putting that stuff out to, help us to share it and get it out to the public as much as we can, because word of mouth can go but so far. But I think that, there's some avenues that we can probably focus on that would, give us some additional coverage to get that word out. Because again, victim to victim, it doesn't always get the notoriety that we want it to.
Well, yeah, let me add on that too, because he brought up Mr. Fisher. When we talk about the avenue of speaking to the great Mr. Fisher for Spanish speaking populations, we have a new bilingual PIO coming on board, who specializes in social media to get this information across. Out in Division One, we have one Damien and Captain Serpus, who they do and they engage with all of our Spanish speaking community across the county, not just Division One. In order to, every week there's there's a radio show that is Spanish speaking only, that they go on and answer questions about the police department and all of our services. So we are delivering it, but I don't know if we've compacted it in a place to say we do deliver this, and that's what we're going to do.
I appreciate
Victim services coordinator. That'll be part of their duties.
I appreciate that. And obviously for the Latino community and also for the African and Caribbean community, right? I think when you don't know things like the Trust Act, and people don't realize the second biggest user of U visas is Korean Americans, Korean residents. So, when I say immigrant, I really do mean all. And knowing that we want you to talk and we want you to be part of making our community safer, and we want you to testify.
We did reach out. We had meetings with the Mexican consulate and the consulate from the Philippines, who came in and gave us great tips and formed a partnership on how we reach the numbers that's in Prince George's County, and some great information that I didn't know, even on how many people from the Philippines are in Prince George's County, which I think he said 30,000 or something to that effect. It was very high. So we are engaging with it, but we're going to put those things together to form a fist.
Appreciate you. And then my other question for you, Chief, which I know, you and I talked offline about it a little bit, and I wanted to see where you were, because earlier, I didn't want to interrupt you, but in your PowerPoint, you talked about your murder investigations. And I know you and I have spoken off this offline. Where have you been? And then I have a question for Mr. Early. Where have you been in, I guess, either rolling it out or figuring out? I know you were going to do a different sort of like MOU situation when it comes to investigating murders with municipalities, and then maybe having to pay a fee for that investigation for a murder to you all. And where are you all at with that?
Well, we are still, that's Deputy Chief Gomez's shop. We are still working on having an MOU with every municipality in Prince George's County, so that we can define the services that we are giving or maybe even receiving, and having a mutual benefit for both of us. In a partnership for, interlocal agreements, interjurisdictional agreements, that we serve as a partnership with other agencies. So we want to be there for them. There's another aspect that's in another shop in Homeland Security dealing with the gun range and stuff like that. I'm not involved in that. I'm involved in what it would take for an investigator to investigate a crime, and what is the cost associated with that, and how can we have a mutual benefit for bartering. Most of our agencies, our major locales here, they handle most of their crime, except maybe a homicide, and a homicide takes a lot of resources, a lot of personnel hours to actually come to a closing. So we're still working on it. We're going to formulate all those MOUs individually and not collectively. That way we can have we know what our relationship is. And this came to light even with my good friend and comrade out at Bowie State when they had the shooting out there. There was who do we call, MSP or Prince George's County? How do we get information? We had a great meeting with Dr. Bro and the chief. We talked about how we can solidify that relationship with the MOU, that we know what we're getting. And that came after the shooting. And so when this happens again, we'll have an MOU in place to say we're your brother department and we're going to help you out with that. So that's coming. That's a slow process, but it's coming.
And I appreciate you taking the time to in your leadership position, Chief, to dot the I's and cross the T's with all of that. I did want to just add, maybe this is for Deputy Chief Gomez, as you're looking at those MOUs and like figuring out, I don't know, I understand investigating a murder is expensive, but when it comes to us as the council looking at it, every Prince Georgian is paying the same in their property tax, and someone that lives in a municipality is actually paying more than someone unincorporated, right? They're paying, I'll pick on Ingrid since she's next to me. In Bowie, they're paying that Bowie tax, but they're also paying the property tax in Prince George's, and it's all the same. We're all paying, they're not paying less into it. We're all paying into it the same. And so I just wanted that to be thought about as you're looking into these.
Well, let me say this. I think I can
Into
answer
the
it
general
better than
fund.
Deputy Chief Gomez on it. That came to light a few months back. I can't remember. Maybe it was 6 months ago. So the format of our MOUs now, because Mr. Early brought it up, matter of fact, to the DCL Stanton, I don't think that's going to be the premise of where we're going. The premise is defining our duties and what we're doing and how we do it, not necessarily I'm going to charge you for my personnel strength. It is, do you have a K9, for instance, that can help us out in this kind of agreement? We're doing this for you. You'll do this for us, or we just know who you call. So I think the fees were early on, but then it was brought to the attention, dealing with the gun range and other things, that fee is there, that it's already paid for in services to the county. So there will be no need to add this fee structure to it. So, and I should have clarified that in
Okay, I
the
appreciate
beginning.
that.
But Mr. Early,
Early.
brought that to our light.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that actually they are paying a different tax rate. So, for example, in Bowie, so for every service, because of the tax differential program.
Yes, correct me. Go ahead.
Sorry, but for every service that a municipality does that reduces the burden for the county, there's a reduction on the tax rate for the citizens. So, for example, for Bowie, for most police functions, Bowie does them. There are a few things that don't, but for most police functions, so there's a reduction in their county tax, and for each service they do it. On the other end, and for police, which can be a little tricky, you have police departments that do very limited services, and they get some deduction, but not a whole lot. So it really varies by jurisdiction. But but just as across the board, if there is a function that the county does, and they're doing it that relieves the county of that function, there is reduction in tax rate. Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification, because I just felt like, oh, municipality people are paying twice, but now I know there's a reduction but only in the services there's a reduction, right? For what county performs.
Only a service where they're providing it in lieu of the county.
Okay.
I think, let me say, because part of this, I would have to say, some of it is a clarification. When we talk about services, there are some municipalities with a police department, and that police department is supposed to be 24/7, but it may not be 24/7. So Prince George's County police officers are going in at different times, and that is really what has to be defined. Are you delivering services 24/7, or are you delivering services for 12 hours and we're still answering the calls? That hasn't been discussed inside of that agreement. What does that mean? And it means something to us because we don't know. We want to help all of our departments, but we need to know what that is that we're helping with and not be a different deal every day.
I appreciate that, and that touches to Councilmember Blaguet's concern about, the visibility of the officers and all of that. So, and then my last question, which I guess it's to Director Early, I was asking it to all the well, you're a chief, but the directors was the police budgets. In the end of the day, it's up to 2.3 in this, correct? What is that direct? I'll direct it to Early for right now. What would that actually be going to, or maybe just sustaining?
That's while there will be, I'm sure the police department will make shifts to do a little more and a little less of this and that. That actually is barely sustaining.
Barely sustaining. Okay. For everyone watching, every agency that comes, I'm gonna ask you all the same question. Well, colleagues, any other questions? No? Well, thank you so much, Chief. Thank you to your team. Thank you for keeping Prince Georgians safe every single day. We are just in your debt and so grateful for everything that all of you do at this table.
Well, thank you so much, Council. We appreciate you guys and the support.
Thank you. Colleagues, continuing, and this is more for the council members, if you all could just pay a little quick moment attention to this announcement. Continuing with the budget work sessions, our next Health and Human Services Public Safety Committee meeting is April 28th, which is next Monday. Colleagues, it's going to be a long day. So 10 a.m., we will probably be doing the Police Accountability Board and the ACC. We will take a lunch break, and then we'll be back at 1 p.m. 29th, sorry, council member. Monday, April 29th is for the colleagues and for those out there. It's going to be a long day again, 10 a.m. Can you all just be a little hushed as you exit? Thank you. I was like, I'm talking. The Police Accountability Board and the ACC at 10 a.m. We'll take a lunch break, and at 1 p.m. we'll be doing Homeland Security, Corrections, Office of Sheriff. Same for you, Director Early and Ms. Skinner. So it's a long day on the 29th. And at that, I will take a motion for adjournment. So moved. I see all hands raised, and HHSPS is adjourned. Thank you.